Today, I have Allie on the call as well. She's co-hosting with me to help answer any questions that you may have. You can just pop them into the chat or the Q&A, and we will get to them at the very end since this webinar is pre-recorded, and then will be recorded on top of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Hi everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Casey and I'm a product support analyst for Vintrace. A little background on me before we get started is that I worked in wine production for 8 harvests prior to making the move to Vintrace. I've worked all aspects of production but spent a majority of my time managing a lab, which is why I decided to take on this lab-focused webinar. Today we will cover setting up metrics, analysis templates, different ways to request labs. I'll go over our ETS Lab Integration, and finally, how to import results from in-house lab equipment. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. For all things lab setup, we will click the little gear icon on the left-hand side, and then lab. We will cover all of these tiles, but I'm going to go ahead and start with metrics. Here's where you can see all of your metrics that you've set up. When you are wanting to add a new metric, you will just select new metric. And I always like to start by clicking save. And what this does is it just highlights the mandatory fields. Anything that's not highlighted, red, is just added information. If you want to, you can, but you don't have to. Here you would put your metric name. The conversion factor is already defaulted. If you'd like to get more specific, you can draw it out a little bit more. The qualitative unit, we do have a long list to choose from. You can specify if it's an allergen here. Max precision is how many decimal places you would like to show in your result. Your code is a short, if you wanted to add a short term for the name. So if, for example, acetic acid, maybe you would want the code to just be AA. And this will appear on your lab labels and also in the lab console. I can show you, for example. So right here, you can see that our acetic is set up as AA for the code. Your mapped name we will touch on a bit later. This is just another spot that you can put it for our integration. The min-max value is a range of standard, data that you receive from this metric. And then anything outside of this range will highlight the results box in orange color. It doesn't stop you from confirming the analysis, but what it does do is it just gives you a little kind of like hands up, hey, are you sure this is correct? Do you need to do anything about it? I can show you an example that you would see. So you can see it did highlight orange here. I'll erase this, how about? So if I did 0.5, click off, all good. And then the second you go above that 0.5, you will get the orange, but you can confirm. Sort order, this is if you would like to have your metric closer to the top or whichever order you put the number. If you don't specify a number, it will just go in alphabetical order. Allow blend calculation if you would like your analysis that's entered to be calculated once, just like an average, once your wine is blended. It will show with a little asterisk next to the results. So if you'll see that asterisk and know that it was just calculated and not actually ran in a lab. Allow numerical values only. That is if you would not like, any alphabetical entered into your results, and it will turn the box red, as you guys might have seen on my last screen. So it does highlight it red, and then you will not be able to confirm. It will give you this error message. If you need to inactivate a metric, you can click inactive. We can re-access these if you made a mistake or would like to bring it back into your database. Exclude from lab if you would like to have the metrics set up but would not like any lab requests or analysis recorded for it. And then you would just click save. So I will cancel out of here. And we'll keep on moving. Next over, you can see that we have the import export option. So if you wanted to add your metrics in bulk, you can, if you have the correct permissions. If you don't have the correct permissions, this will just be grayed out and you won't be able to click on it. What you want to do is click export metric to CSV. It will download. Let me bring this over. Here we go. It will look something like this. And so you can add, edit, delete, whatever you would like to do. You will save it to your desktop as a CSV. And then you would go back in. You would import your metric. You will pick your file here from your computer and then upload. We want to update existing records and you would click import metric. So that's a great way to do it in bulk. And if we move over, if you want to search by name, so anything with BEN will populate right here. If you have a multi-winery database, you do have the option to assign metrics to different wineries. So you would just select the winery and then click assign to winery. And you can see most of the metrics are already assigned to this winery, except for, a couple down at the bottom. If we wanted to assign this to this winery, you would just check the box and click save. If you need to view your inactive metrics, you can just click inactive and they will populate here. You can click on it, and if you wanted to bring it back into your database, not inactive, you would uncheck inactive and save. And you can see it is now gone. Okay, so that's pretty much everything with creating a new metric. So I can close out. And we will move on to analysis templates. This is super important for saving time. I definitely recommend using our templates for monthly checks, fruit samples, anything that you're doing all the time. Bricks and temps, then you don't need to individually select. So let me just open up, a very classic monthly. You would enter in your name, the analysis template name, any sample instruction that you want to print on the label. So it's always nice to, have how many mils you need for it. You can select a default for, it can change the product state, any added detail to the label you want. You can also add in a cost every time this template is used. And then for adding in the metrics, you would just search for your metric. We'll just click on that and it automatically pushes it on over. If I wanted to change the order, you can use these little arrows down here. If I want to remove it, if I accidentally added it, you would select remove. You can also create a new metric right here in this window as well. If you need to inactivate your analysis template, you would just click inactive and also the option to print labels on your lab request. So you can't do a bulk upload for templates, but you can export out all of your templates if you did want to see what they look like, and you would just select all or this page and then export to a CSV or PDF. You can search by name here, and then same with assigning templates to wineries if you have a multi-winery facility. And if you need to view your inactive templates, you just check this and those will appear. I think that's everything to do with analysis templates, so close out of there. We will do metric thresholds first because you will see this kind of goes in hand with the metric action policies. We'll configure. And I'll pick stop alcoholic RS as an example. You would just put your name for the metric threshold policy, and then search your metric here from the list. If you want it to be less, greater, whatever the value, and then the value right here, and click add. So this one we have set up for RS less or equal to 0.5. And then any threshold, you need to read the fine print for these ones. If you want the calculated values to be used or not. And then if you have multiple metrics listed, if all of them need to be met or if just one of them is good enough. Cancel out of that and close. And so now moving on to the metric action policies. And I will select the one that is used. So we have the stop alcoholic fermentation, and we have our metric threshold linked right here. And so this is going to, once it's, under that 0.5, which we specified in the metric threshold, then it's going to change the product state to fermented. You can also have it change the grading if you would like, the scale and value. And if you would like user confirmation before it changes any of these items, you can check this box as well. If you need to inactivate, if you're no longer using it, you would select inactive and then save. All right, moving right along. Let's move on to the different ways to request labs. There are quite a few ways in vintrace. I will start on the vessels tab. So the first way you can request a labs is right here on this list, just by clicking the checkbox on whatever you would like ran. Scrolling to the bottom, and we'll click the little drop down next to actions and then select lab work. And you can either pick to do a template or just one individual metric. So this time, let's say I just want to run alcohol on these ones. You can provide any sample instruction if you want to print your labels, and then you would just click OK. And what that does, we can see our labels are brought up, and the labs will be sent into the lab console. So you can see these alcohols right here ready to be entered in. The next way to request labs, very similar, straight from the vessels page as well. You would check the boxes of the wines that you would like to run analysis on, do your drop down. And this time we'll select work order and analysis. So again, if you want to pick a template with this time, sure, let's go ahead and pick a template for juice panels, any sample instruction, and OK. And so this will populate a work order for the analysis if you wanted it in a work order. We would need to save as ready. And our work order will populate, and you'll see that these will also have been sent into the lab console. So we have those juice panels here as well. Okay. The next way that we can request a lab, we'll go into the jobs. And you could either do this on a work order or an operation. I'll just show us from a work order. We will click Add Job. And you can pretty much do it from any job that you see this little flask next to. So whatever vessel and batch you select here on your work order, let me go ahead and do this 21 red wine. And then I will select the little beaker. And here is your request for the lab sample. This will get sent straight into the lab console, And yeah, so that's a pretty simple way of doing it as well. Okay, the next way would be from a multi-edition work order or operation. And this way is super great for any type of, monthly analysis where you did all of your SO2 ads all on one, all 20 listed. And then you can just click request lab, and this will request your whole page. So if you had 20 vessels, you will get 20 requests. So if you select request lab, and then you can either do your template, same deal, or single metrics. And then you would click OK, and they'll get sent over to the lab console. Okay. Next would be straight from a batches page. So let's go ahead and pull a batch up. I will select this. And so 2 ways from the batch page. You can either click the little clipboard for an operation and analysis. And then right here, so this will not send it to the lab console. You will save on the spot right here. So just note that. The second way would be to click the little plus sign and lab work. Oops, maybe I clicked the wrong button. I did. Lab result, sorry. And same window pops up. It will not send it to the lab console. This will just be saved right here. You can select scheduling mode if you would like, and then add in your work order here. The last thing I want to touch on for requesting labs is that you can request labs prior to a wine being in tank. As we know, sometimes the cellar and lab work quicker than what's being entered into vintrace. And that's totally okay. How you would want to do that is, on your work order, let's say they were doing a transfer. Let me just pick on this one right here. So we have a transfer, and it looks like it is going to be in this vessel. But it's not right now because it's not confirmed, right, in vintrace. So we could... And actually, since this is in progress, I don't know if we'll be able to... Yeah, let's go ahead and just grab a new work order. Okay, and so, yeah, let's go ahead and say we're doing a transfer. And it is from here into this vessel. We would need to pick something empty. And so, let's see, here we go. And let's say it's going to be the same wine batch, though. Add to work order. And then an analysis would also be on this. The main things is that we want this vessel and batch to match the destination tank that is here. As long as the vessel and batch match the destination tank, you are able to confirm the analysis whenever you would like. So if the lab already finished the analysis, they can enter it in. And then once this work order is completed, this job number 1, it will link up and go into the lab section, and you'll be able to view it there on the batch page. Okay. So that's all the ways to request labs. And so we're going to go on to our ETS integration. And the first thing to do there is add ETS into our address book. You'll do that by clicking the 3 dots on the left-hand side, and then open address book right underneath the address book tile. we will want to add an organization. You'll want to put the company name, and then you can get as specific as you want. You don't need to. Again, we could click save to see that all we need is a company name. And so you would put in ETS or ETS Labs. Over here, the roles, we will want to select that it's a laboratory. Click edit. And this is kind of where the main setup comes. So configure client IDs. Your client ID is something that ETS will provide for you. You can have multiple if you have multiple owners in your system. You'll just need to get their client ID and enter it here. Okay. Next, and what's super, super important is configuring your metric names, because the names in your vintrace might not match the names that ETS calls them. So you'll want to click add lab or add line. And then underneath metric, you'll need to do this for every test that you're going to request from ETS. So it might be, all of your metrics. But if you only run the same panel every time from ETS, then you only need to do those, 10 or so. I'll do free SO2 as an example. So you'll select the metric, and then you'll want to pull up ETS's website, which I have pulled up, and just go to their analysis page, and what I like to do is just copy and paste so that there is no error. Oops. You can copy and paste from anywhere. Copy and paste. And then let me get back to the right tab. There we go. And so it's perfectly entered exactly how ETS has it. Make sure you don't have an extra space at the end. It's space case sensitive, and you will just click the little green check mark. And so now vintrace knows, okay, when I get a CSV upload that has this as the name, free sulfur dioxide, parentheses SO2, that pairs with free SO2. You would click add line and make sure you add in all the metrics, and then click OK. Next, you'll want to configure your third-party lab interface right here. This is your ETS login. So don't send it into support. We don't need your login from ETS. This is private and we can't see your password or anything. You'll enter in your ETS username and password and then the URL, and just click OK. If you're unsure, you'll just want to reach out to ETS and they can provide this for you. And then any added, if you wanted your lab labels to print on the spot, you can. But that's pretty much all for the setup, and then you're ready to import your results. So let me show you how you do that. You will want to go into your lab console. And I'll give a quick rundown of the lab console right now. But just, date range up here. If you'd like to ignore dates, you can search by the lab ID, which you can find here. The job status, if you used a template, metrics, and then just search. It will automatically, like you can see, it'll just populate today's lab analysis if you don't click on anything. So when you're ready to upload your results from ETS, you will just want to go here where it says lab and select ETS. And then it's as simple as clicking check results. If you have multiple owners, you'll need to check which one it is and then OK. We don't have any requests with ETS as of now in this database, but if you did, it would auto-fill and bring up all of those requests. The main thing that you need to note here is that when you send your samples to ETS, this lab ID, the AT number, is what you need to put for your lab sample's name. So, instead of putting 24 CS Paso, it needs to be AT11214. And that's how vintrace syncs this up. I think that's it for the ETS integration. So let's move on to importing results from like in-house lab equipment. And so to do that, it's very similar to ETS. There's just a couple of differences. You will want to open your address book, and we will need to create another lab. And so we'll go to organization, same thing so far, the company name, and then we want to select laboratory and click edit. So of course here we won't have the client ID or the login because this is in-house lab equipment. But what we will need to do is configure your metric names. For instance, if you are uploading from, an ADMIO, the names on the ADMIO might be a little bit more complex or different than what your metrics are, just like ETS. So you would click add line and you would put in your metric name that's from vintrace. And then the import name. So whatever, amino shows in your ADMIO. Click the green check mark once you type something in. And then you would keep adding in lines. And that's all you'll need to set up, just the metric names for in-house lab equipment, because we are going to import the data a little bit different than ETS does. Close out. We will go back into the lab console. And then from here, down on this bottom left-hand corner, you will click the little drop-down arrow and then select whichever machine it is. And so, for example, I was talking about ADMIO. We will select ADMIO. And you'll need to make sure that you export your results from the ADMIO from the day or the day before or however much time you would like. And save that to your desktop as a CSV. Just like ETS, your lab request names in ADMIO will need to be this AT number. So, it can't be the 24 CS cab. It needs to be AT11214, and that's how it syncs up. You'll then go ahead and click the upload little arrow. You would choose your file and then send, and that will automatically upload your results here. You don't need to have the results that you're uploading on the page already. It will automatically populate it for you. After that, you will need to go through, and this is for ETS as well, and either update or confirm. If you don't do that and you close out, all of your results will just disappear and you'll have to do this upload again. If you would like, you can down here at the bottom, you can update or confirm by full page, which is kind of nice to save some time. And yeah, so that's pretty much how you would do for any in-lab or in-house lab equipment. Another way, if you would like, and it's pretty quick and simple for entering lab data, if you wanted to do it in bulk and you prefer Excel sheets, you can go ahead and click export right here, and you'll want to export this page as a CSV. It'll go into your downloads, and I have an example up, I believe. Let me see. Let's bring it on over to the screen. There we go. Okay, so it'll look like this, and oops, there we go. It'll look like this with the AT number, all this information, and I already entered these results in just to save a bit of time, and then I saved it to my computer just as a CSV. I'll go ahead and exit out. And then you will use this same import. You'll just need to select the VIN X2. And then our import arrow, choose file. I'll go ahead and search for it. And open. And then we'll click send and we'll see all of our results auto-loaded. So this is how it'll also work for the auto load of ETS and the in-house lab equipment. That's how it'll look. And then just like I had said, you do need to come over here and at least update. I'll go ahead and update 2 of them so that you guys can see what happens if you don't do this. So I did not do this one. And you can see the only lab analysis on this screen right now is from the import, even though there's more from the day. So I'll close out, go back into the lab console. And so yeah, you can see these 2 stayed good. And then here's the one that I didn't update or confirm. It's now gone. Not a big deal. You would just need to go ahead and choose your file again. When I'm ready, I can go ahead and confirm these results. You'll just want to make sure that your date and time are correct. So if I wanted to click now, it'll change the date, or you can manually change the date as well. And confirm. Okay. From the lab console, you're also able to, so if you needed to reverse your lab analysis by the full page, you can also arrive the sample by the full page. You can print lab labels all on the same page instead of doing 1 by 1. These are all options that are here as well if you just wanted to do 1 by 1. And then another thing just to note, clicking this little exit does not delete your requested analysis, so it will come back up. It just removes it from the page so that if I wanted to use the, confirm this whole page, I could. But then once you, exit out, go back in, it will repopulate those. So that's just to remove for the time being, but it does not delete it. And I think that about covers everything that we wanted to discuss for our lab webinar.